So the recipe we're making today is, I hope, a nice simple one with not a lot of ingredients. We're using corn on the cob, fresh corn on the cob. That's our star. I guess I should have brought that up later, but yes, you can see it. Nice fresh corn. It should be kind of heavy now because it's going to be fresh. It's going to have a nice water content. And we are using radishes. So these are kind of our real stars today. It's our radish and our corn. And I'm just using some jalapeno pepper, and I'm using some lime. And then the dressing is just going to be that lime, just some lime juice and a little bit of olive oil and a little bit of honey. And I've got those back here and a little bit of salt and pepper. So you'll see that when we mix that up. So I started out today by husking this corn, by peeling it. And then I do run it under cold water, not so much because I'm worried it's not clean, because it's very protected by all of its husk, but it helps get any last stray pieces of silk off. So that's always kind of nice. And, because that can be, people think it's a piece of hair. It is a hair of the corn. But and then to get it off the cob, there are some different ways you can do it. Some people will cut it down on the side. I don't find that as easy for me. So another way is to put it into a bowl. I have a small bowl inside a big bowl. It's a little easier if it's not two things that make noise, but I couldn't quite find the right matchup. You got to just, make sure you can get your hand all the way down. So you can go across, down the whole cob of the corn. But what's nice about this is it all lands in the bowl as opposed to on your cutting board, because it's a bit splashy, because it's very juicy. So this kind of contains it a little bit better. And you just, you don't want to cut too deep into it, but you just kind of cut right along the top of the kernel, and it comes off really nicely. This is also great for anybody who has to do this for somebody who can't eat corn on the cob, like somebody with braces or somebody who just can't manage it. This is a great way to get it ready for them. And it comes off really, really well. And then look at all that nice milk. They call that the milk, right, of the corn. And then you can just take out your bowl. It's not always that easy. So this is sometimes people will cut it in half, and that kind of controls the cut a little bit, right? Like so. And this one is a little bit thicker, so it's a little bit hard to cut in half, but it can be done. And that can make it a little bit easier to manage, right? And keeping your fingertips really tipped at the top and not getting them in the way of the knife. And so, you can get it doesn't splash quite as much, and it's a little bit easier to do that way. And you can do that inside the bowl as well. The other thing I love to do, let me just get the rest of this off of here. I love to do what I call milk the corn. So I run the dull part of my blade along the kernels and just take out all that nice milk that's in there. And that really kind of just adds a little bit of extra body and flavor to the salad. It's also a great way if you want to thicken a soup, or if you want to give some extra flavor to a vegetable broth or soup. I already, of course, cut up a lot of this stuff before we started, just because it's a little bit too much to make on this workshop. But so I made them into half moons, and I cut them pretty thin. And I just lay it flat, the radish, right after I cut it in half, because I really like things to be as flat as possible when I cut them. And then I just either take my knife point on the board and just keep coming across and cutting nice thin slices. And if it's not too big for you, you could keep them into the half moon shape. And if you want to cut them in half again, which I did in this one because I had quite a big radish, the first one I used, and I just cut them in half. We were also talking about another really nice way to cut them is to matchstick them. And this is a great cut for little kids, right? Under 3, that things really need to be the right size so they don't end up lodging in their throat, right? And so with the matchsticks, what I do usually is I will cut it into bigger planks. So I'll cut down. I usually don't cut it in half at that point, but I'll cut it down and then just stack those up. And then I can just come back and cut nice. Let me just move this. Can you see what I'm doing? And again, keeping my fingers well back, and I just cut nice little sticks. I guess we really shouldn't be saying matchsticks anymore because we don't really want to encourage match use, but this is also a great way to cut things for salads, right? And I have some other ones that was a bit smaller. You could, and so these are, like I said, is a great cut for kids, and also just a kind of fun looking. It's kind of pretty, and it just makes a different shape in whatever you're making. With the jalapeno that we're putting in this today, I did take out the seeds and the rib. I cut it in half, and then you can either use a knife to just cut out that inner part, or a spoon. You can actually just take a spoon and just going away from yourself, just scoop out that middle part. That's kind of a nice way to do it. Remember then to maybe rinse your hands off because you'll have some heat on your hands after you deal with the jalapeno. And then I'm soaking it in the lime juice to kind of do what's called temper it, to mellow it out a little bit. So here's our whole one, and here is the one I cut really small. So again, I cut it, and I can show this one because I can use this for something else. I cut the top off, and then I just cut it right down the whole jalapeno. Again, keeping my fingers well out of the way. And then, like I said, you can use a spoon and just kind of going away from yourself, holding it like this. Just take out that whole business right there. And of course, some people really like that, right? If you like it super spicy, then you might not want to do this. But if you don't, this is kind of a nice way to make it get the flavor of it and get a little bit of the heat, but not so much of the heat. Then I take it and I usually just kind of open it up a little bit so I can flatten it, and then I can also take out any more of the rib that I missed. And then I just, again, cut long, thin strips. Just easily like that. It's really pretty nice, works through the knife works through it very well. And I just come back and cut it super small. And again, that's a totally personal choice. I know a lot of people will just, cut this into slices with the seeds, right? They really love that. So that's not me. I like a little heat, but not too much. And I'm using olive oil, but of course you could probably use any other oil you wish. So I'm going to take the jalapenos out, and then I'm going to mix the dressing a little bit separately because it's kind of nice to get it combined outside the salad, so that you get kind of like a nice even flavor and coating on the salad. So now I've got my lime juice. I'm going to add my olive oil. So this is a half teaspoon. It's really pretty small, right? So it really doesn't require a lot. With the corn being so sweet, do you really need honey? And we were like, well, it's really nice to balance the lime with it. And also it kind of picks up the other flavors well. So I'm going to give that a stir. You can whisk this if you want, but it's kind of nice not to need a lot of equipment. Just kind of get it to combine with itself. And I'm going to add a little salt and pepper. All right, so I just added probably about not even a quarter of a teaspoon of salt. I really don't find this needs a lot of salt. That's of course a personal choice. And then I just added some pepper. It's just a pepper grinder. This one actually has some coriander seed in it too, which is nice. Gives a little bit of an extra boost of flavor. And I'm just going to stir that. Put that in. I can already smell like the corn particularly, but even the jalapenos now, and the dressing and the radishes. I'm just going to use my tiny little spatula because it works really well. And to me, this is just so pretty. It's so summery. And of course, as it does sit, it's going to pick up flavors more. You are going to want to refrigerate this after a bit, or if you're not going to eat it right away, that's a great way to get it to marry all the flavors. And it's so good, but otherwise it's really good right away as well. So here's the favorite part. Oh wow, this smells so good. And you see there's already like a lot of nice juice in here. And so it stays very moist, which is good. All right, so now I'm gonna do my favorite part, the tasting. And I think it's gonna be just really, really good. Okay. All the flavors are in the scent of it, which is so cool. Oh wow, that is something else. It's crunchy, it's soft, it's got just a little bit of heat, but hardly any really, because I tempered the jalapenos. You can taste them, and then just that little bit of sweet and the lime. It's just really, really nice. And as I said, will get better and better as it sits in my fridge for another hour or two before dinner tonight.